They said it couldn't be done. The experts, men in grey suits with spreadsheets and furrowed brows, all wagged their fingers. A small country, they declared, could not possibly build a world-class modern fighter jet. Not on its own, it's simply not on. You need the muscle of America or the vast, chilly expanse of Russia. You need a budget that could buy a small moon. And you certainly couldn't make it small, cheap, deadly, easy to fix. That, they said, was pure fantasy, a myth. You have to pick 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky. You can't have it all. But in Sweden, a country known for sensible shoes, flat-pack furniture, a pathological avoidance of arguments, a quiet rebellion was brewing. They listened politely to the experts, probably nodded a lot, and then went right ahead and did it anyway. They decided to build the JAS 39 Gripen. Reveal: Gripen takeoff steep angle, afterburners glowing. This wasn't just a plane, it was a 2-fingered salute to the entire military establishment, a machine designed with a completely different philosophy. It was a jet that cheated the rulebook, tore it up, and used the scraps to light a very satisfying bonfire. The world of fighter jets had become like supercars in the 1980s. More was always more. More power, more size, more complexity, more cost. The Americans were building enormous twin-engined behemoths that needed a team of computer scientists just to start them. The Russians were building hulking monsters that could punch holes in the sky. And then along came Sweden, a nation of just 10 million people, with an idea. What if they thought we build something clever, something that works smarter, not harder? The result was the Gripen, a jet so compact, so efficient, so brilliantly contrary that it made the rest of the world's air forces stop and stare. It was the David in a world of Goliaths, a plucky underdog armed not with a slingshot, but with a revolutionary computer system and an instruction manual that didn't require a PhD to understand. To understand the Gripen, you must first understand the magnificent awkwardness of Sweden. Look at it on a map. It's ridiculously long, skinny, like a geographical green bean. A coastline that goes on forever. A massive, potentially grumpy neighbor to the east. During the Cold War, Sweden was officially neutral, in practice, on its own. No big brother like America to come running. If someone invaded, the Swedes had to handle it themselves. That created a specific, brutal set of problems. Defend a vast amount of airspace with limited money. The Swedish taxpayer wouldn't fund an American-sized air force, so they needed a fighter that was a bargain to buy, and, crucially, a bargain to run. In war, the first thing the enemy does is bomb your airfields to smithereens, leaving billion-dollar jets in smouldering craters. Sweden needed a plane that didn't need a proper airfield. Take off and land on short, damaged runways or even on ordinary country roads. Think about that, a supersonic jet screaming to a halt on a bit of tarmac normally used by Volvos and Moose. It had to be refueled, rearmed, and sent back into the sky in minutes, not hours. Done by a small team of conscripts, not a platoon of specialists. A handful of young men probably freezing cold with a basic toolkit. So the challenge was set. Go toe-to-toe with the best in the world. Make it cheap. Make it simple enough for a teenager to service. Make it tough enough to operate from a forest clearing in the middle of a blizzard. It needed to be a multi-role aircraft too. JAS stands for Jakt, fighter, attack, attack, spaining, reconnaissance. 3 jobs with 1 airframe because Sweden couldn't afford specialists. Car boot sale budget. Savile Row ambition. An impossible task, or was it? The established wisdom for building a fighter jet in the late 20th century was simple. Go big or go home. A proper fighter, the experts droned on, needed 2 enormous engines for thrust and redundancy. It needed a massive airframe to hold oceans of fuel for long-range missions, a colossal arsenal of weapons. Magnificent but monstrously expensive machines like the F-15 Eagle, sumo wrestlers of the sky, immensely powerful, but runway-hungry, crew-hungry, treasury-hungry. Sweden looked at this rulebook and used it as a coaster. Instead of how do we make it bigger and more powerful, they asked how do we make it smarter and more efficient. The answer was to throw out the obsession with size. The Gripen was designed from the ground up to be small, positively tiny next to an F-15. A small plane is a light plane, and a light plane doesn't need as much power or as much fuel. It's basic physics, really. Smaller airframe meant smaller radar signature, lower drag, better performance, most importantly, lower cost. While giants gulped fuel, the Gripen sipped it. Thrilling performance without ruinous running costs. Electronics first, airframe around them, sophisticated flight control and a powerful central computer created a jet that's inherently agile and easy to fly. In the high-stakes world of fighter pilots, there's an old saying, in a twin-engine jet, if one engine fails, you have another to get you home. In a single-engine jet, if the engine fails, you become a glider pilot. For decades, this was the gospel. Serious, top-tier fighters had two engines, period. So when Saab announced the Gripen would have just one engine, the collective gasp was audible from space. They thought the Swedes had gone mad, a compromise too far, reckless. Critics called it the Gripen's Achilles heel. Combat damage risk, power, climb, speed. But modern engines like the Volvo RM12, licensed GE F404, are astonishingly reliable. Safety records are spectacular. One superb engine saves huge weight, complexity, and money. Freed space becomes more fuel or more brains. Maintenance? Halved. A staggeringly simple logic. Delta wing and canards make it naturally unstable. Sounds bad, actually brilliant. The flight computer steadies it, and the Gripen can turn on a sixpence, outmaneuvering bigger foes. The single engine was part of a beautifully balanced, lightweight, ferociously nimble machine. If the Gripen's airframe was minimalist, its brain was genius. Older jets were a mess of boxes and spaghetti cabling. The Swedes built a digital nervous system, one of the first fully integrated avionics on a digital data bus. Think of it like a USB network for a fighter. Radar, sensors, communications, weapons, everything plugs into the same network, sharing data seamlessly. The pilot wasn't just flying, they were commanding a flying supercomputer. It fused its radar with other Gripens, ground stations, AWACS, granting godlike situational awareness. One pilot handled tasks that used to need two, pilot and weapons officer. Scandinavian simplicity, 3 big displays, critical info, easy to grasp. Fight, not fiddle. Future-proof by design, no ripping out wiring. Plug a module, load software. New weapons, write code, better radar, plug it in, upload drivers. This modular, open architecture, now standard, was pioneered by Gripen, built for today's battles and tomorrow's unknowns. It wasn't just clever, it was clairvoyant. One of the most bonkers requirements. A ground crew of just 1 technician and 5 conscripts should rearm and refuel the jet for air-to-air in under 10 minutes. 20 minutes for ground attack, in the freezing cold, on a strip of road, in the dark. Most makers would laugh. Saab didn't. They designed for mechanics, accessible everything, modular line replaceable units. Unclip the broken box, clip in a new one, send the jet back up, fix the part later in a shop. Even the engine could be replaced by a small team in under an hour. The jet could diagnose itself and tell the crew what to change. No guesswork, no heavy ground gear. All essentials fit one portable trolley, an IKEA flat-pack wardrobe for war. Everything in the box, instructions mostly clear. Beefy landing gear for rough roads, winterized airframe for brutal cold. Not a hangar queen, this is a workhorse. Surprisingly tough, surprisingly capable. Built by people who understand what cold really means. For a small country like Sweden, building a world-class fighter is one thing. Selling it is another. The market is dominated by political giants. The Americans don't just sell an F-16. They sell alliance, security, a lifestyle subscription. Competing with that package is nearly impossible. Gripen had to sell on merit. Its price and total cost of ownership was the killer app. Cost per hour far below Typhoon or Rafale. For Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, South America, this changed the game. Buy jets, fly them, train pilots, sustain a credible force. Sweden added tech transfer, local industry, training, manufacturing. a partnership, not just a sale. Czech Republic, Hungary, via leasing, South Africa, Thailand, Brazil after a long competition. Each sale a victory against the odds. Proof you don't need to be a superpower to sell a supercar. You need a brilliant product and an even more brilliant pitch. With success comes doubters and myths. Since first flight, rivals have sniped. They say it's too small, short range, too few weapons. Point to F-15E and sneer lightweight. That's like criticizing a rally car for not hauling furniture. Gripen isn't a long-range bomb truck. It protects airspace, needs speed, agility, sensors, not continent-spanning legs. Tankers make range moot. It can go long when needed, just more efficiently. In exercises like Red Flag, Gripen punches above its weight. Pilots leverage small size, low observability, and superior situational awareness to see first, shoot first, and win. Small bucks stealthy, small backs agile. Single engine acts cheap and reliable. Brain offsets, brawn. In modern air combat, it's not the size of the dog, but the size of the fight, and the sophistication of its computer. Gripen is a giant slayer, and giants don't like it. So, what's the verdict on this Swedish upstart? They said a small country couldn't build a cheap fighter. Wrong. They said a single engine was a fatal flaw. Wrong. They said it was too small to compete. Spectacularly wrong. The JAS 39 Gripen is a lesson in engineering philosophy and the art of the possible. Its legacy is written in the skies, but its impact is on drawing boards. It forced giants to rethink size, complexity, and life cycle cost. Affordable across life, easy to upgrade, software as vital as thrust, radical then, mainstream now. Gripen E carries the torch. More power, state-of-the-art radar, revolutionary display, smart, pragmatic, giant slaying. Sweden didn't copy. It carved its path. Lean, mean, fiendishly clever. They didn't just build a great fighter. They rewrote the rules of the game.